Well, I guess I can go ahead and get started. So yeah, I guess I gave like a short background. I'd rather answer questions and just have a conversation. But just to give you some background on who I am, where I'm from, I'm Crystal Martin. I'm originally from Detroit, and I went to Michigan State University to study nutritional sciences. I thought I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied that, and after graduation, well, actually before graduation, I had an experience where I went to South Africa for study abroad, and I was able to visit a center where, as a college student, I did a lot of work for, but never actually went. And the center helped children who were affected by the HIV/AIDS crisis in their home. But something that I really realized when I was there is that the kids were really focused on education. And I felt like at that point in my life, I was like, why would I go do something? And doctors are very important. I would never say doctors are not important. But I started questioning, why would I go do something to help people who are already in a bad situation? What could I do to maybe preempt that? And something that I found out about in South Africa, which obviously is applicable everywhere, is that education level had a huge correlation with like life expectancy. So it wasn't just like, let's educate the kids so they can, have a bright future and go to college. It was a matter of life and death, literally, in this community. And I began to see the connections between that, a place in South Africa and then say a place like Detroit or St. Louis, that education directly impacts health outcomes. And so I thought education is the answer. I could kill so many birds with one stone. We don't want to kill birds. So someone said, sun more than one turtle at a time or something like that. But I could accomplish maybe more than one mission by going into the classroom. So I applied to Teach for America. I got accepted, and I taught middle school math for 4 years in South City, St. Louis. It was some of the most formative years of my life. No job that I ever do would be as important as being a teacher. But after 4 years, I was burned out. And furthermore, I didn't really realize that I was preparing my students for Teach for America is an amazing program, but in some ways, it's like you take people out of college who never really worked before, don't have a whole lot of life experience and wisdom, throw them in a classroom and tell them like, be outcomes focused and teach kids. And I mean, I did. I had great outcomes of my students. My kids learned, they were prepared for the rest of middle school. Many of them were super, super successful in high school too. And actually I graduated my first class of fifth graders this past weekend. They just finished high school. But I realized that it wasn't something that I wanted to continue doing. And I didn't know what I was preparing my kids for. I was in St. Louis, but sure, you can teach kids math, but what kind of jobs are they gonna get? Where are they gonna go after that? What does this city have to offer? And where do I want to have my voice in this, or where do I want to make the biggest impact? And so I was literally sitting in my room in St. Louis with my 3 other girl roommates trying to figure out our lives. And I was like, maybe I'll look into coding. And when I say this was the most random idea, like I never thought that I would code anything, right? My uncle used to always tell me that I should try coding, but I thought that's what like boring old dudes do. I'm not going to do your job. You do that computer stuff. I'm going to go save the world as a teacher or a doctor. But I always was looking for a way to kind of meld together my love for creativity and but also science and logic. Like anyone that knew me from middle school would ask me like, you're not a fashion designer? Because I was super into art. I drew some of my friends' prom dresses. And yes, I was super into it, but I felt like I was always having this push and pull and I couldn't choose. I had to choose one or the other. And I thought, well, maybe programming will help me like figure out a way to mix out all that together. So I went on meetup.com in its earlier stages back in 2013 or 14. I went on meetup.com and I just searched coding meetups in St. Louis. And I found STL Ruby. And I thought, okay, well, this is cool. They have like a cute little logo. It's got a little Ruby, a pixelated Ruby logo. I'm gonna go to this one because this one seems like it's more fun than the other ones. And I showed up at this meetup. I was the only woman, only person of color with my little fro and backpack, and the whole room stopped and was kind of like, what are you doing here? But then people embraced me. They were like, this is so cool that you're here. Here, grab some beer, get some pizza, join us. And so the meeting organizer, Amos Harris, who is not Amos Harris, Amos King, sorry. He is a pretty well-known programmer here. And he kind of sat down with me and he was like, listen, I'm just so happy you're here. Like, you're not gonna understand anything, but I'm gonna sit down and we're gonna code some Ruby. And that is when I realized that Ruby was a programming language. I did not have any idea. I thought that I was just going to a coding meetup where the nerds had named their meetup the STL Ruby meetup. I had no idea. But in that moment, he sat down and we did some pair programming, and I didn't understand most of what was happening. But he just said, you know, we need people like you. We need women. We need people of color. We need teachers. We need people who can communicate in this field. So come back and you'll learn and you'll get it one day, but just take it one day at a time. And so I did. And so I came back to the next meetup after the first one that I went to, and I met a guy there, Brad Urani, and I had never met him before, but I was talking to him after the meetup had wrapped up, and he was just like, you seem really excited about this. You don't know anything yet. I heard there's this program Launch Code that I work with, and you can't do that yet because you don't know how to code. But he's like, my friend is starting this like girl coder program. You should talk to, here's her email address. And if you know Brad, he's super like just direct and really funny guy, but he was just like, you know, reach out to Colleen and, you know, go forth and code, and I'll see you later when I can employ you. And so I emailed Colleen, and come to find out she was starting this thing called Coder Girl. And so basically the basis of what she wanted to do, she wanted to start a program where actually she just wanted to start a meetup where she could learn to code with other women. That was basically it. Launch Code had classes at the Peabody, which is this huge venue in St. Louis, but most of the class were dudes. And she basically said, I want to take CS50, I want to take this class they're taking, but I want to do it with girls. So I think she started this email list, and I think she thought that it was just going to be like 10 women who want to meet at a coffee shop and code. And then she got like a listserv of 800 women interested in the program. So naturally she was like, let me go ahead and hand this over to Launch Code, because Launch Code was just kind of kicking off at that point. And so that's the beginning of Coder Girl. And that's kind of how this is how I got involved in tech. And so I was in the program for a while, and after a while, we started seeing the attendance just kind of dwindle, and we were trying to figure out why. So we had this little like group of people who were trying to make Coder Girl cool again. And then I just so happened to be in a meeting once, and they were like, you know, we're hiring now. Maybe you should think about working, you know, at Launch Code. And I was just kind of like, yeah, sure. Like, I'm really into the mission. I was about to just pack up all my stuff and leave because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I thought that I'd have to, like, I don't know, spend a bunch of money to go to a coding boot camp to actually get started. And here's this program that just cropped up out of nowhere right at the time where I was considering this. So yeah, I went and I worked at Launch Code for almost 3 years. I was in the role that Sally is in now, running the Coder Girl program. We grew it from a meetup, so it was just ladies getting together, learning how to code, and it turned into, you know, a fully fledged educational program with curriculum and professional mentors. And it was just some of the most, I'm still a super huge advocate for Coder Girl. It's the most fun I ever had. And the interesting thing enough is that I never finished a course at Coder Girl. I never actually fully completed anything because I was running the program while I was trying to learn how to code. But 7 months ago now, I started a new job at Slalom, which is a consulting firm. There's actually an office in Portland and Seattle, and also obviously here in St. Louis. The headquarters are in Seattle. And I basically started a Coder Girl at Slalom program. So at the time that I was kind of looking for new opportunities, just because I wanted to learn more, I went and had a conversation with one of the recruiters at Slalom, and he told me, you know, we want to create pathways for people into tech, and you know how to do that, and you want to get a new job, so maybe you should come here, build the program, and then go through the program. And it sounded crazy at first, like, how am I going to do that? But I just basically took the skills that I had from building the Code to Grow program and did it at Slalom. And so a month ago, we wrapped up the program, and 15 people started at Slalom, no consulting experience, no development experience. And now all of us are developers, with the exception. So two became project managers, one is a UX designer, and the rest of us are coders. Some of us did React, JavaScript, and some of us did Salesforce development. And I mean, that's all she wrote. So that's how I became a programmer. It was really just like one step at a time. I think when you make a decision and you open your mind up to something new, you'd be very surprised how the universe aligns and the people around you come around and just align with you. I mean, really, it wasn't me I had no idea this was where it was going to end, but I just kept on taking like one step and trusting myself and trusting the people around me that said they were going to help me, that they would actually do that. And it's just really crazy. Like, I can't even believe that I'm doing this right now. Who knew? I mean, but it really shows the power of, one, community, and two, just people setting an intention, and organizations and leaders setting an intention that we're gonna do this thing. And it's just really awesome to see what has come of it. And like I said, being at Code to Grow, I never finished the program, but I still got so much. I learned so much from being in that arena and in that space, that I was able to take it to this new environment and not only, you know, build a future for myself, but help usher in people to do the exact same thing. So 8 of the people in the program that we just finished up at Slalom called Start House, 8 of those women were Code to Grow from St. Louis. So I couldn't have thought of a better full circle way to end my time of employment at Launch Code in Code to Grow. And yeah, we're already talking about like, how can we create more pathways for people now that we have all this knowledge of Salesforce and software development? How can we pass that on to more women so they can get those skills and do what we're doing now? Like, we all kind of, I was talking to a girl today that I work with, and we were just like, how did this happen? Like, how do we do this? It's so crazy. But yeah, it's just the power of people supporting each other. Oh, so I see some like responses here. A lot of these obtain requires program. So I'm reading in Brewer's comment. A lot of the meetups have attended regards to programming coding had a whole bunch of super nerds who just didn't talk about anything. That's so true. That's really what happened. But the funny thing, well, I have a lot of thoughts about that. The Ruby community specifically, and especially in St. Louis, I think Ruby developers are just a lot more, I don't know, fun. So it made it a lot easier. And the leader of that group was really, really hell-bent on making it inclusive. So he kind of pushed the boundaries and kind of set the tone for the meetup, that we were here to communicate. We were here to share in community. Like, no, it doesn't matter if your experience is greater than another person's, they're just as valuable here. I always say that could have ended up totally differently, right? Like, they could have been really weird and rude, and I would have never gone back, and I would have said that tech is not an environment for me. And I would probably, I don't know, doing something else, trying to figure out my life. Yeah, it can be really gross. I do think that the St. Louis tech community is just a little different. It's very, I mean, I'm a Black woman and I definitely get microaggressions, but I feel like in general, the tech community is one of support here. I mean, I've heard horror stories about the coast. I don't know if I could ever deal with that, but I think also having a lot more women in the field, a lot of respected women who are involved in Code to Grow, being at the companies that we partner with, they also kind of serve as like a shield in some ways, but they kind of pave the way. But it is weird. You kind of just, I don't know, take a girlfriend, or, I mean, this is why programs like Code to Grow and Women Who Code exist, right? When Code to Grow started, we already had an education program running. Hundreds of people were in it. And then we say we're gonna do Untargeted to Women, and literally all these women just come out of the woodwork out of nowhere. it's because, and I had women come to me and say, I would have never come to MU if it hadn't been female focused, and it hadn't been, if I hadn't met you, like I would not have shown up because I would just have been too intimidated or afraid of what would happen. So Katerina just asked about, oh, yeah, I know they were the original coders. What separates it from other communities? I honestly can't. Well, you know, I think the founder of Ruby is like a very happy, touchy feely kind of like, or what did he say? Like, he wants programmers to smile. Like, that's the basis of Ruby. Ruby is to make programmers' lives easier. And so I think that the type of people who are attracted to that kind of vibe or community are a part of it. I don't really know. I'm not even a Ruby developer. My boyfriend is, but I learned a little bit, but I don't code Ruby every day. But I've heard that over and over again about that community. And I would say of all the development communities here in St. Louis, the Ruby one is still the most family-like. Probably that and like the functional community. It's a little smaller here, but and I don't know enough about functional programming, but I run a conference with some people who do functional, and they're like the best programmers, just the sweetest, most awesome, encouraging people ever. I thought I saw another question, but I think it might have disappeared. Did you want to press that? Oh, what someone asked, what do I code in? I do JavaScript and Apex. So Apex is Salesforce's programming language, and it's basically Java. And what do I want to learn next? I really want to get better at JavaScript. JavaScript is confusing. I mean, it's kind of a wild language, and I think to be able to utilize it correctly, you really have to know how to wrangle it, and you have to understand its quirks. And I'm just not there yet. So I really want to delve into JavaScript, and then probably maybe a JavaScript framework after that, like React. But I really want to get more fluent in JavaScript. I mean, even Salesforce, that platform is moving to JavaScript in the future, so I'm going to have to be even more familiar with it as I am now. Free Code Camp. Yeah, I have heard of it. I haven't done a lot with it. I think I signed on years ago when it was like kind of disorganized. But I know it's a great community, but I haven't done anything in it. But yeah, that's mostly what I had to share. So if you have questions, I would love to answer them. Have you heard of? Yeah, I think I have seen it as much more organized now. I probably should check it out, especially for JavaScript learning. I also love Code School for starting off with JavaScript too. If anyone's in here like trying to dabble in it, Code School is really awesome, and how it's structured. What's the scariest part about making a change from teaching to coding? I had a nice little long path, but I think the scariest part for me, I'll say even going from coder girl to being a developer, is just like that imposter syndrome and that thought that I'm going to be the person on a team that's super slow and not contributing, and everyone's going to be burdened and irritated by me. That is a fear that I always have. So yeah, I'm afraid of that every day. Code School, you can get someone asked if Code School is paid. You can get a free trial. It does cost money though after that trial. But just, yeah, the imposter syndrome is probably the worst part of it, like starting out with programming. You just think like, there's so much I don't know. There's so much these people know. But the funny thing about what I've heard though, what I've learned is that I actually know a lot more than what I think. Like I was showing a senior developer something the other day. So you just you just can't sell yourself short. You just have to go with what you know now, and then, move forward and trust, like I said, trust yourself, and then trust the people around you who say, oh, I'll help you. Then say, okay, well then help me. You hold them accountable to do that. Slalom. Yeah, so Slalom is awesome. It's a consulting firm. So we do work at different companies here in St. Louis, large, small, startup, big enterprise. We have 7 capabilities. So there, we have a technology enabled, which is our development, customer engagement, which is what I'm in. It's mostly Salesforce, CRM, kind of marketing. There's UX, there's data science, our data capability. We have a strategy and ops capability. We also have business advisory services for people who are interested in being like solution owners, which are basically our purple unicorn product owner slash BA slash scrum master role. Yes, sorry, UX is user experience. In experience design. So yeah, Slalom is a national, actually international company. We have an office in Toronto and in London. But yeah, we're all over. It's awesome. I love Slalom. It's one of the most supportive work environments I've ever been in. I can't believe that I'm blessed enough to be in a place where people are just like looking out for your best interest all the time. I couldn't gush more. I mean, I could gush more about it because it's crazy to me. It's funny you asked that. So Lorraine asked, is there somewhere I can show up and hang out and learn? And we actually, the Code Until Dawn meetup that used to happen in St. Louis, it kind of went on a hiatus. One of my coworkers just picked it back up. So if you join the Code Until Dawn meetup in St. Louis, he will be running that. I don't know the frequency yet, but that's an awesome way to get involved with the Slalom community. We also have the Polyglots meetup, also meets at Slalom quarterly, I think. So those are 2 meetups that I know. And then Neem Sarah, my coworker, she does a lot of women in tech events at Slalom. We actually have one coming up. I forgot when. It's a Google event and I'm speaking at it, so I should really know when it is. I think it's next week, Tuesday. But if you I'll put in my email here and my Twitter. So if you have questions or something, you can email me directly. Sorry. So yeah, just email me. Let me know. Yes, and yeah, Slalom is in Portland and Seattle. And it's a pretty awesome place. Every market is different. I can only speak to my experience in St. Louis, but the overall, feel and culture of Slalom is what I just described. I think St. Louis is special. But yeah, we're one of the fastest growing markets here in St. Louis, so it's pretty exciting stuff. Any other questions? I could also just start talking more about everything that I've been learning and dealing with. But I'll talk. Oh, so many things. Okay, so I haven't used Adobe's UX. I am so bad at design. I have so much respect for full stack developers. I don't know how anybody can be good at all this stuff. What is something we look for in interviewing a new developer? So this is gonna sound like a non-answer, but I can only speak to Slalom and in Slalom St. Louis. When we say what are we looking for in a new developer, really it is an ability and a want to learn. That really is what it is. When people were coming in for interviews for Slalom from Coder Girl, it was mostly I really believe this person's gonna work hard and they're gonna haul ass to really understand this stuff, and they're gonna be honest and reach out for help. That the people who are really successful, that's the feedback that I got over and over again, is people who can communicate, who care about people, and they care about doing the right thing, and they're just gonna learn. That really is all it is. I mean, it's great if you have a depth of knowledge and development skill, but the thing about it is it changes, right? What you have to do will change. There were ladies who came in as Java developers who had to become JavaScript developers overnight, and vice versa. The only thing I had ever seen was JavaScript and Ruby. I had never done any Java, and now I'm basically a Java programmer. So it's, you just, as long as you know how you learn, I think it's really important to understand how you learn, and inform your leaders and your teammates on how you learn and ask for help along the way. But that's what we saw as potentially successful programmers, people who did that kind of thing. And Strange Loop, yeah. So Strange Loop is a conference that happens here in St. Louis at the end of September, and the leader or the founder, Alex Miller, does not like when I call it a functional programming conference, because it's not just that. There is a functional bend to it, but they have talks on cybersecurity in this like strange software. So really just kind of fun, cool talks about weird applications of technology for fun things. So it's really, I like to call it kind of like a fringe tech conference. You'll never go to a conference much like it. It's very beginner friendly in the sense of the community. And we have a huge emphasis on diversity and making sure that the conference is accessible to everybody. So anyone, that includes people with differing abilities, parents, people of color, LGBTQ community. We just really make an effort to make everyone feel included. The talks can be very like 747 over your head, but it's like that for even senior developers. And I think the fun thing about Strange Loop is that you just get inspired, because you're like, all of these things can be done with software, and maybe one day I can understand this to be able to do what they've done. But then you also see a reflection of yourself in the conference through the speakers. And not all the speakers are functional like wizards. Some of them are just people like us, or me, I'll say, speak for myself, that like just started in programming and wants to do a workshop on a thing that I'm interested in. So you kind of get this overall experience you get these like different smatterings of like tech stuff. It's really fun. And there's like a fun event at the City Museum. If you've ever been to St. Louis, City Museum is a really fun, crazy, like adult playscape outside thing. But and actually, if you are in St. Louis right now, if you live in St. Louis, there is a grant for you to go to the conference for free. So if you're interested in that, I can actually I'll drop the link. Maybe I'll give the link to Katarina so she can put it on the meetup page. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Sorry. I'll give it to Sally, or I'll just put it in here at the end. But yeah, that's Strange Loop. We just closed the opportunity grant for the national stuff. I don't know. You might be able to like nudge Project Alloy. You don't have to, well, for this particular grant that I'm talking about, because we just do like a St. Louis pool of tickets. But nothing beats a failure but a try. You can always like direct message the Project Alloy people and say like, hey, I really want to go to Strange Loop. Can I apply? I'll just, I'm like, listen, that's how I've gotten opportunities, just harassing people until they tell me no for sure. Like I don't assume no until I've heard no. But I'm just gonna pull this up. They're probably gonna be irritated if they see this and I'm putting this in here. But Project Alloy is an organization that organizes our grants. So check that out if you're interested in going to the conference and getting a ticket. In conference tickets are, I put that in there because I know that it's an expensive conference and everybody can't pay for it. So that's what the opportunity grants are for. But if you work at a company that will support you to go, tickets are not on sale yet. They're not open yet. So you also have an opportunity to go to Strange Loop if you can pay for it. But I know I'm like, hey, if you can get in there free, you should definitely do that. I'm just going to go ahead and pull up just give me 1 second. The St. Louis attendees. Sorry, just give me 1 minute. Oh, also, sorry, hang on. Oh, where'd it go? Sorry, ladies. I'm just gonna throw this in here for you to look at if you, oh wait, oh, I don't wanna do that. Everyone. Hopefully that is like the right open form. Let me know if it isn't. Like I said, if you just email me, I can get you the right thing. What am I thinking about? Oh, also, if you're interested in volunteering, so we wouldn't pay for you to fly to St. Louis and go to the conference, but if you can get here and you want to volunteer, you can also let me know, and I can potentially put you down as a volunteer. So for that, go ahead and email me at this email address. I know I'm doing the most right now. But if you email me there, then the way it works is you would sign up for, I think, a half day of volunteering at the conference, and then you can go to the rest of the sessions for free. So it's not a huge commitment. So I just like dumped all that in here. So I'm gonna go back up to the top. So well, how about older women at the conference? There's also age ranges. They're also welcoming people of all age ranges. So I think you can come to Strangers and find someone like you and feel comfortable for sure. So someone, Sumi asked, I am also career changer, but having a hard time to get a chance. Do you see people take a path through other roles like tech support? I have seen that. Where are you located? Are you in St. Louis? The question is for Sumi. Oh, you're in Portland. So I don't know a whole lot about the Portland scene, and maybe someone who's in Portland could chime in and talk about that. St. Louis is a lot more open to people who are new to the field, kind of because we have to be. Like, we don't get the same talent pools that Portland and Seattle do, so we have to be creative about how we open up pathways for people. But I have seen people do that here, but I don't know if anybody from Portland wants to chime in about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I would say about Portland. I feel like it's also pretty open, but at the same time, it's also sort of like when different cities get ranked in terms of like what the tech scene is like for women. Portland's usually towards the bottom. We're trying to change that, obviously, and trying to build a better community, one that is more welcoming to women, to older women, but I don't know that we're really, I mean, I think we're establishing that community within our group, but I don't necessarily know that we're changing sort of how companies sort of like recruit. But maybe we are. I hope we are.
Oops, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult, but I think the best thing to do is to continue to learn and also just network. Like again, I know it's much easier in other markets, but the only reason I have the job that I have is because I talked to someone who worked at Slalom. She was a mentor at Coder Girl, and I was just like, okay, you seem like you love your life. You've done a lot of cool things. I just want to like talk to you about how you have done this. And she basically helped me, hone in on what I wanted to do, and really helped me get this opportunity at Slalom. So as much as you can reach out to people who are in the places that you want to be, that really, really helps. I think we really can underestimate, especially I think women think that I just have to be good at what I do, and that's how I'll get noticed. But really, the way people get noticed is by somebody else saying like, this person is awesome. And I feel like that's how mediocre dudes get jobs and get opportunities, having one of their mediocre friends talk about how awesomely mediocre they are, and then they get an opportunity. So my thing is like, we should be using the same channels. We should be using the same strategies, because that's how you get opportunities, to the people that you know. So yeah, and someone mentioned there are a lot of opportunities in Portland for tech. So again, like connect to the people in this meetup group, because one person might know another person know of another opportunity that can help you get in there. Also, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but Slalom has something called an analyst program. And so that's basically what the program at Slalom St. Louis was. It was, we called it Start House. So it allows you to kind of get an introduction to consulting and then sort of move into another role, but every market kind of defines who they want for that program separately, differently. So I would say that if you are interested in something like that, you should definitely reach out to a recruiter at Slalom Portland and just see what are their application or when are their cycles coming up next, because that could be a way in as well. So another person asked, what do you think the tech industry needs to do to truly increase diversity? We need to promote women. Women need to be in leadership positions. I think is the main thing, or promote people who don't necessarily look like the archetype of what leadership is in tech. It's actually taking the time to look at someone and say, or look around you and think about the people who are talented that may not look like the current leaders. I think that is what's going to make the difference in tech becoming diverse. And then things like what we did at Slalom were just like saying, okay, you know what? Let's just take a chance. And that was basically the mindset. This could blow up in our faces, right? This could be totally too much for someone to handle. Or we can bring in people who don't necessarily have the skills that they should have to go to a client right away, teach them that, give them the support, know that they have people that have their back, and trust, just kind of trust our culture, trust that we have the culture that we say we do, and then also trust the people who said they're going to work hard to actually do it. And it's a huge risk, and there are a lot of people, don't get me wrong, there were a number of people who were very skeptical, about that program and would it actually be successful? And it was, but it took a lot of hard work. In some ways, I guess our company lost money to take the time to train people and to pay us salaries, and we're not being billable. But at the end of the day, I think they saw that it was important to diversify our team, and not just in, female people of color, but also just experience level and experiences in other industries. So I think that's one of the main things that people need to do, that we need to do to increase the diversity in the tech field, is just giving people an opportunity to show what they already have, what they're able to do. Do I work from home or actually? So I do both. So it depends on the client. So right now I'm on a small business and she doesn't have a place to show up to. So we just meet at our offices or wherever we need to. So I've been working from home a lot, but because of consulting is consulting, you basically do whatever your client wants you to do. So there's some clients who want you to be in the office every day and, or most of the time. And also it depends on the nature of the project. Sometimes you really need to be there interfacing with the team and the other developers and people who work there to kind of get the job done. So it depends. I have, coworkers that are on the client site 100% of the time. And then I have other ones who work from home, work from the Slalom offices, work at the client. It really just depends on where you get placed. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, so the analyst position would be a place to start in the Portland market. We just technically don't call it the analyst program in St. Louis. Our program is a little bit different because we have that core consulting part of the learning phase, and then we have a technical component of it, so it's just not the exact same thing. But I think that a lot of the markets are beginning to potentially adopt that model. Happy to take other questions if you have them.
So I think we had scheduled this for actually 40 minutes. So maybe if someone else has a question, we can have that as our last question, but we're actually not going to go the full hour.
Okay. Job description for analysts, I'm going to be honest with you and say I don't know, because it just varies. It varies across markets. So I don't want to tell you information that I don't really know because everyone kind of defines it differently. But I would say reach out if you're interested. Reach out to Slalom Portland, and then someone asked about Slalom having data science opportunities. I'd say generally yes. I think in St. Louis, they haven't taken a lot of junior people in the data science part if you haven't had some experience. But I think that as that practice grows and sort of morphs, that will be an opportunity. But the first time around for the Start House program, we didn't do any data, sort of intentionally, because we really want to assess our needs for that. So this is a really good question. Oh yeah, and so sorry, you said you were asking about slalom specifically, and I'm saying that I don't really know what the description would be, because it changes per market. So I would be making something up because I'm not really sure. I'll say like the way it sort of works in St. Louis is that we worked on nonprofit, like non-billable projects first to kind of get our feet wet, but also, you know, have an impact and learn. And then we started rolling on to billable projects once we had the skills we needed. So that's how it worked here, but I just know that it is different in other markets. But Tamla asked a question, when I was applying, it sounds like I had different skills in different areas and was looking for different jobs. How did I decide on what to focus on or to apply to? That's an excellent question because I just didn't have a focus area. I just started kind of like, I honestly I wasn't really seriously looking. I didn't think Slalom was going to hire me because I thought I didn't have enough skills. But so I just went with the premise that I could probably maybe do project management. If I learned a little bit more about Agile, maybe I could do something in that realm. I'm a people person. I understand software development to an extent. And that's sort of where I started. And while I was talking to Slalom, they were kind of like, this is what we really look for in a person who's going to be in that role. And, you don't necessarily have those skills yet. It's funny because that philosophy changed like as we started hiring people for this program, but that's another story. But that's kind of where I started. I anchored it like I have tech skills, I have some tech skills, and I have people skills. So how can I like work that program to get in the door? It's sort of how I thought about it. And again, I think a good way, something that helped me sort of get to that point is by having coffee with a bunch of different people who knew me and who kind of knew me and who didn't know me. So I sort of got a collection of ideas from people like, what do you think I would be good at? You work here, you have these kind of jobs. Do you think that I'd be able to do something like that? Or what kind of skills do I need to acquire to be able to do a thing like that? Slalom was just really like right place, right time because they were looking to do something differently and something they had never done before, and so was I. So it was pretty cool that I had the opportunity, but I'd say part of that was just luck. And someone asked about the interview process. Again, every market is different, but Slalom is very much like let's just have a coffee and talk. And then you have 7 different coffees. And then you get an offer. It's really just like, really just people getting to know you. I didn't get one stupid interview question in the 7 conversations that I had. Like no one ever said to me, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Or like, tell me about a time where you like work with a team. They never did that. They were just like, who are you? What's your deal? What are you interested in learning? What do you see yourself at Slalom? What do you see yourself doing here? What kind of impact do you want to have as an employee, as an individual person? They really just focus on getting to know me better and making a decision from there. So people kind of go like, Slalom is culty, but I mean, I could see how you felt, you could feel that way, but they're really just looking for someone that fits into the culture and not like in a gross way, but like, again, that culture of like growth, that we are all growing and learning. You'll never be in one place for your entire career. And if you can sign on to that kind of ideology, that, Slalom is a good place for you.
Well, thank you so much, Crystal, for joining us and telling us so much about Slalom and your journey into tech. Yeah, can we get some applause? Can we get some unmuting and some applause?
Thank you.
Yeah, so we do this event every month, and we're gonna be back the last Tuesday of June with a speaker from Portland. Stay tuned. And I think previously Crystal shared her information, her email, and her Twitter. And so if you have like any questions for her, actually, I'm going to go through and grab the links, and I'll send them in a post event email.
Awesome.
Cool.
Cool. And this is, so you guys can see the kitty joined us. Sleep on the tape on her favorite chair. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. She's a snooze kitty.
Very cute.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for having me. Again, reach out with any questions you might have. I'd be happy to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Crystal.
Yeah, thanks for having me.